It's like 4:22, and I'm getting ready for my flight this morning to go to Dominican Republic, and I'm really, really excited. So, yeah, um, come and see with me on my journey.
There's something strange that happens when you leave the place you know. At first, it's uncomfortable. You step off a plane, and suddenly everything feels unfamiliar. The language, the rhythm of the streets, the way people move, the way they greet each other, even the silence feels different. Your instincts want to hold on to what feels normal, what feels predictable, what feels like home. But traveling has a way of gently pulling that comfort away from you. And that's where something interesting begins. Because when you remove yourself from what's familiar, you start to see the world more clearly. I came here to the Dominican Republic with a camera, an open mind, and a simple curiosity. Not just a place to see, but to feel it, to understand it, and maybe even learn something from it. As filmmakers and actors, we are travelers by nature, not just across countries, but across perspectives. Every role we play, every story we tell, asks us to step into someone else's world, someone else's truth, someone else's life. And when you travel, you begin to realize that storytelling doesn't belong to one culture, one language, or one place. Film is a universal language. You don't need subtitles to understand a mother holding her child. You don't need a translation to recognize laughter between friends. You don't need an explanation to feel pain, hope, love, or loss. These emotions exist everywhere, in every country, in every neighborhood, in every person. And when you step into another place, you start to see how connected we really are. But traveling also challenges you. It asks you to let go of control, to adapt, to listen, to observe. Because when you're in a new environment, you don't have the luxury of assuming you understand everything. You have to learn again. You have to watch how people live their lives, how they greet each other in the morning, how they work, how they celebrate, and how they struggle. And somewhere in all those small moments, stories begin to reveal themselves. Not the kind of stories you write in isolation, but the kind that exists quietly all around you. A conversation happening on a corner, or a fisherman preparing his boat at sunrise. Children playing in a street with nothing but imagination. These are stories that don't need permission to exist. They're already alive. And as storytellers, our job isn't to invent everything. Sometimes our job is simply to notice, to witness, to listen. Filmmakers often think we need the perfect conditions to create something meaningful. The full crew, the expensive camera, the lighting truck, the perfect location. But the truth is, stories don't wait for perfect conditions. They exist whether we are ready for them or not. A powerful story can begin with nothing more than a moment, a face, a place, an emotion that refuses to be ignored. Travel reminds us of that. It reminds us that creativity doesn't come from comfort. It comes from expansion, from being willing to step into the unknown. And when you do, the world suddenly becomes much bigger than you imagined. You start to realize that your perspective is only one of millions. And that realization can be humbling. But it can also be inspiring, because every person you pass has lived a life you know nothing about. Every street has its history. Every culture carries its own rhythm, its own struggles, its own beauty. And if we allow ourselves to slow down long enough, we can learn from it. We can learn resilience from communities that have learned to survive with very little. We can learn joy from people who celebrate life in ways we forgot how to. We can learn patience from cultures that move at a pace very different from our own. And as artists, those lessons become part of us. They shape how we tell stories, how we write, how we perform, and how we see the world. Because storytelling isn't just about imagination, it's about understanding humanity. And humanity is everywhere. Travel forces you to confront something else too, your own limits. There are moments when you feel out of place, moments when you feel like you don't belong, and there are moments when the unfamiliar feels overwhelming. But those moments are also where growth lives. Because when you learn to adapt, you begin to realize how capable you really are. You realize that home isn't just a place. Sometimes home is the ability to carry yourself anywhere, to connect with people you've never met, to find meaning in unfamiliar spaces. That's what storytellers do. We move, we observe, we absorb. And when we translate those experiences into stories that others can feel, and maybe that's why film is so powerful. Because even if two people live on opposite sides of the world, they can sit in the same room, watch the same story, and feel the same emotion. For a moment, borders disappear, languages disappear, and the differences disappear. All that remains is the shared experience of being human. And maybe that's what traveling teaches us the most, that the world is far bigger than we think. But the things that connect us are far stronger than the things that divide us. Somewhere out there, there's always a story waiting, a story unfolding quietly in a place you've never been, in a culture you've never experienced, in a life you've never lived. And sometimes the only thing standing between you and that story is the willingness to step outside of what feels comfortable, to explore, to listen, to see. Because the world is filled with stories that haven't been told yet, stories hidden in landscapes, in faces, and traditions, and everyday moments that most people walk past without noticing. But if you're paying attention, if you're curious enough, and if you're open enough, you'll start to see them everywhere. And maybe that's the real beauty of being a filmmaker. Not just creating stories, but discovering them. Realizing that the world itself is one giant narrative unfolding every single day. And somewhere in that narrative, there's always a story waiting for us. We just have to be brave enough to go find it. And maybe that's something we forget when we stay in the same place for too long. The world starts to feel smaller than it really is. Our routines become familiar, our surroundings predictable, our perspective slowly narrows without us even noticing. But the moment we step somewhere new, everything opens up again. Suddenly you're reminded that there are thousands of ways to live a life, different rhythms, different traditions, different definitions of success, happiness, and community. In some places, life moves fast. In others, it slows down enough for people to truly see one another. And when you spend time observing that, it changes you. Not all at once, but little by little. You start to question things you once thought were fixed. You begin to realize that creativity isn't just something we sit down and force out of ourselves. It's something we collect from the places we go, from the people we meet, from the small, quiet moments that stay with us long after we've left. A filmmaker doesn't just carry a camera. We carry experiences, fragments of conversations, images of landscapes, the way sunlight hits a building in the late afternoon, the sound of music drifting through a street at night. All of those details become pieces of future stories. And maybe that's the real gift of traveling, not just seeing new places, but expanding the way we understand the world. Because once you see how big the world really is, you realize how many stories are still waiting to be told.